You're watching 3 Questions with Kat. Overcome your obstacles and find success.
Hey everyone, it's Catherine Norland and I'm back for another episode of 3 Questions with Kat. I have Ricardo here. How'd I do?
Very good. You rolled your R's pretty good. You know.
I need more practice with that.
Not easy task.
Not an easy task. Where are you from?
I was born in Venezuela.
Okay.
My mom is from Spain, my dad from Venezuela, but I was pretty much raised between Venezuela, Spain, parts of Europe. I'm kind of like a citizen of the world.
You've
basically.
been everywhere. I have been nowhere. Well, for the first time I went to Ireland in 2019, but other than that,
Oh, that's gorgeous.
I went to Canada once, but I was from Minnesota, so we just drove over the border. So I was like, it's not really much
You're
different.
from Minnesota?
Yes.
That's where I went to college.
Really?
Yep, I went to college in Winona, Minnesota. Believe it or not.
Winona.
Tiny 27,000 people
Oh my gosh.
town
So
right
many
by the
little
Twin
small
Cities.
Towns. Everyone's pretty nice there though.
Oh, beautiful people. Beautiful
Yeah.
people. I love the winter weather.
You do?
To me,
Ooh, how do you get away
I'm
from
an
that?
Eskimo reincarnated in a Caribbean body. So I'm good in 65 below zero and, 4 feet of snow. And
No,
I'm good in
thank
there.
you. I had to get away from that. Okay, so we're like off on a tangent, but that's okay. Gosh, you got me so curious now. What did you? This isn't even part of the
I
interview,
was
but
gonna
here we
say,
are.
detouring from the questions
I
here.
know. Well, what made you go to Minnesota?
The cold.
You went there specifically to be cold?
because
Oh
I
my
went
gosh.
to a La Salle school. I'm the 4th generation. Actually, I'm the 3rd generation of La Salle, people. My grandfather went to La Salle, my father went to La Salle, I went to La Salle. So La Salle is a Catholic private school, just like the Loyola, basically.
Okay,
La
okay.
Salle and Loyola are pretty much equivalent.
Okay.
So there was one in Minnesota. Anything colder than that would have been what, Duluth perhaps?
Well, Duluth is in Minnesota.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
So-
From where I was, anything
Yeah.
colder would have been in Duluth, right at the
Okay.
verge between Minnesota and Canada, basically.
So he's already a rare bird if he makes it a point to find the coldest place
Oh, yeah.
in the United
Oh,
States
yeah.
to go. That just sounds crazy to me.
And I love everything about it. The shoveling of the snow, the cleaning
Oh
of the
my
driveway, the scraping of the windshield.
Oh.
What drives people crazy, I love it.
That's unique. You
It
are
is.
very unique, Ricardo. Okay, we're actually going to get into the episode now. Ricardo, people want to know what stops someone from having success.
Fear of failure, I think, for many people, because there is a level of confidence, but not completely confidence. So they feel confident enough to think and to strategize and to talk to people, but then suddenly at the time when it comes to realize the dream, to really concretely do something about it, then there is something in the subconscious mind that sabotages a lot of people. Some people dream it, go far enough to even plan it, strategize it, sit down, talk to people. But then at the time of truly crossing the barrier and going to the actual factual realization of the dream, then something happens. And I believe it's the subconscious mind just playing tricks on certain people and creating excuses for them to detour their attention or their willpower or their courage to do whatever they need to do at that moment.
So I'm reading a book right now, and I think it's called The Expectation Effect. And people tend to live into what they expect to have happen. So if they think they're going to fail, they will unconsciously do everything they can to make sure that they fail.
Yeah, that's pretty much along the same lines of what I'm
Yeah.
saying, But it's almost like they want to tease themselves, they want to go into halfway through, but not completely. So they create the scenario, organize it, talk to people, get everything set, but don't make it happen.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's very interesting.
So
not
they
everybody.
they get to the cusp of, they just don't take that leap. They don't take that
Yep,
step,
yep.
but they're ready.
They're ready, and then just that fear factor of, oh my God, I'm gonna lose, or I'm gonna ruin everything that I have created, everything that I've talked about, everything that I've organized. It's gonna be ruined by just one single action. No, wait a second, I better wait. And let me think about this better, and then just start going on and on and on, and they never do it.
Wow. So The next question is, how do you overcome obstacles? If you, let's say, maybe that is your obstacle. Maybe you get to the edge where you could do it, but then you hold back. How would you, if that was your obstacle, how would you get over that?
Well, since in that case for certain people it is a fear factor that creates that scenario, I would think that the best way to eliminate that fear would be to put absolute importance on the conceptualization of the idea, on the creation of what the person is thinking. Because ultimately, what really makes things happen and what really creates a scenario in which you bring in the reality you want to create, whether it's professional or personal, is not really what you think or what you feel. It's the feeling of the thought that creates the fueling of the process in order for you to move forward. So I believe that the fear comes from people having the idea clear, but not going into that emotional area to feel what it would feel like to achieve that or to obtain what they've been planning on. Once they go into that realm of feeling, everything changes.
Wow, that's really good. And I was recently reading a book, and they talked about, they were studying people who had like fear of like spiders, and they were checking people's like heart rate and monitoring them, and all they did, there was no spiders nearby, but these people were all afraid of spiders, and all they did is tell them, when we shoot next week, there will be spiders on set, and everything within their bodies was registering this fear as if there were spiders right there. So they were projecting that future fear into themselves now, and it affected the feeling, it affected their whole body. And I've heard a lot of people say, you know, as far as that feeling goes, if you can not just visualize yourself winning, visualize yourself in that success, but feel, what are those feelings?
But you know what's interesting is that the thought, the intellectual part of the creation process is what creates sometimes the fear, because it's to get too much in your head. You see, brain can be your best friend and your worst enemy, depending how much you go in it.
You have to train your brain.
Train your brain, and the only way to, in my opinion, to really push away that possibility of insecurity, of fear, is by not focusing just on the idea of what you see in your mind, but what it feels like.
Yeah.
Concentrating the feeling of being rich, not being rich and having cars and no. What would it feel? What would it feel like to be rich?
Peace of mind, certainty, excitement. Like if I wanted to go somewhere next week, I could go.
Exactly. So you're not thinking, I'm going to buy that.
Down.
No, you're thinking, you're concentrating more of how good it feels to drive this or to do this travel or to achieve this, and the feeling of it is really what pushes away all negativity.
Not the things that you have, but the feelings that are associated with it.
Yes.
This is great because no one I've interviewed has talked about the feelings before, and I'm starting to realize how that is one of the most important things I could possibly do. And when I'm coaching my coaching clients and I see them get in this emotional spiral, it's not about like the tactics to do all this stuff. It's like, let's get to a place of peace first, because you can't even think clearly if your feelings and emotions are all out of whack. You can't solve your problems if you're in that fear, that stress, that, you know. So it's really getting your feelings back to normal or neutral before you can even move forward or make the right decisions.
Absolutely.
So the final question we have, Ricardo, is what do you wish you would have known 5 years ago?
You know, it's kind of interesting, but this is a personal thing, okay?
Yeah.
And perhaps might affect many people. The importance of being on time. The importance of really respecting that number, that hour, whatever time you're supposed to be there. And it's not just about being on time. It's about respecting yourself and respecting others. And that dual respect creates such a different level of energy.
Okay, so you said being on time because it's respecting other people.
Yes, being on time and to be clear with the responsibility of what your job is connected to, because your job is entertainment. If we're talking about the show business, and a lot of people think it's just having fun. having fun while you do what you like is good, but
Yeah.
being professional about it's even better, you know.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference in how your career develops, and especially in this business.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. And do you have a website, or if people wanted to look you up or find you, are you not online?
Yes, I'm online. You know, they can find me under Ricardo Herranz. You know, on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. I'm Ricardo Herranz.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for your time today. And
My pleasure.
we'll see you next time on another episode of 3 Questions with Kat. Bye.
Bye bye.
Get the tips you need to reach your dreams.